So I am delighted today to be joined by Pedro Cosa. Pedro, thank you very much for giving up your time and your busy schedule to join me and go through some of our questions this morning.
Thank you, Susie. Very nice to be here.
Pleasure. So before we go into the questions, for the benefit of people who may not yet be familiar with your background, I thought I'd get a little bit of context. And I have a feeling that when this airs, this is going to have a massive a number of people wanting to listen to this because Pedro, so you are a chief data and AI officer. And I know everyone immediately is going to, right, brilliant. What is it? What is this chap going to say? So looking at your background, which is very impressive. So you've worked on a global basis. Your skill is about really harnessing data and AI to drive, from what I can see, growth, strategy, and fundamentally business outcomes. And I know you're going to tell us more about that. You've led some huge transformational data initiatives in amazing big brands. So Channel 4, Warner Brothers, News Corp, delivering an awful lot of commercial value. So I'm excited to get into all of that with you, and we'll be going through the questions. But I just wanted to say congratulations, because when we were doing our research, you've also been twice named Data IQ 100 most influential people in data. So
Yeah.
very impressive background. And what would be fabulous, if you don't mind, someone's going to be dying to hear about your journey. Would you mind just giving an insight into the key steps in your career that has led to the point where you are now a chief data and AI officer?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Susie. Thanks for the intro. But yeah, no, to be honest, I didn't plan for it. And I think, life took me, or my professional life took me to different places. And I think decisions that you make at one point takes you to the other point. But yeah, I think I just follow the problem. I always like analysis of data. I always like using data to make decisions. Back in the day, there was no technology, so I was more just using statistics and more traditional way. But
Mm-hmm.
in a way, kind of, I started working in that area, and then I landed a job at Vodafone, a place where data was very present, where they have a large customer base, and then a lot of data to mine, and a lot of the data to use, and that really helped me to understand the power of data in a large complex business where you can really see the impact. And that was maybe my first point. Now, as I said, decisions, and then, whatever points in your life happen. I enter into the more kind of a media world I didn't know about, and I think they also needed someone who can really help them with the data space. And then, yeah, I built my career in that area, a very creative space where kind of a data may not be natural. And I developed that across companies like, as I said, Channel 4 or Warner Brothers or News, big transformations involving not just technology, but also people, and then just changing the people did things and took data to make better decisions. And yeah, that kind of helped me, gave me a bit of a broader perspective on things. And after that, once you have a more kind of a leadership experience, then you move around. I've been also to energy and retail, but yeah, that kind of it was a natural. Didn't feel like I was forcing anything. It came to me very natural. The problem seems to be the same across businesses. Is maybe the different cultures that you will meet, but yeah, no, that's kind of it felt very natural to me. More lately, since I have the experience and the skills, I set up my own company. I think many companies now need this type of advice, and again, all the experience and background is really helping me at this point of time.
So it sounds like it was quite an easy transition between the sectors because you were following the problem, to use your phrase, the kind of that transformation. But was it genuinely? Because I know that speaking with candidates, one of the hardest thing people find sometimes is to navigate that transition between different industries or sectors. Was that something that presented itself quite naturally in your career?
Yeah, I mean, I felt maybe easier than maybe it looks from the outside. In my case, in my space, Data is similar. I mean, regardless, the data is the data, the way of capturing the data, using the data, making decisions, and even the problems that you want to solve with data are quite similar. So in that respect, nothing changes much. It's maybe the environment. It's more the culture. It's more about, the type of industry. And yes, moving from a very engineer-led place like Vodafone to a more very, very, very creative business like Channel 4, it was a shock. But I think it's also your personality and the way that you take on things and the way how open you are also helps. And in a way, my role has been as important with people and processes than technology. So making sure that you take people with you, that you talk the same language, that you are telling a story, that you are using visuals to really tell them that data is not something alien to them, that they don't have to be rocket scientists, that data can only help them to do their job. And let's talk about your job and your objectives and in your own language. That's really important across industries. And in some cases, it's harder, more creative industries in telecoms or energy feels more natural for people are quite more used to do the data. But for me, has, as I said, been easier maybe than what it maybe looks from the outside.
That for me, I wanted to talk to you about was the people or the teams and the culture, because certainly from a headhunting point of view, I think you've got quite a unique skill set where clearly you've got deep levels of expertise in data and AI as the technical skill, but you're very naturally adept at kind of managing and leading teams. So as you go in to do these big transformation projects, how have you built or transformed these teams and cultures to help ultimately deliver the business growth?
And as I said earlier, people is key for any
Yeah.
transformation, for any change. In this particular case, is super key because, as I said, data may be felt as something strange. People feel that they don't know data, data is not for them. So big part of the job is really bringing them with you and then winning hearts and minds. And that's very clear to me. And one of the biggest things that you can do at the very beginning of anything is just really trying to build these relationships and then become a partner and then speak the same language. That has to me always super important. So yeah, I think it's really, really important for people who want to maybe get into these type of roles is become very, very commercial. Sometimes data is very, very related or feels very related to technology, yes, but at the end of the day, data is there to make decisions, and those decisions have to have an impact. So don't forget, even if you are a technology person, that everything is around commercial. So be very commercial. I think also it's very important when it comes to culture to focus on data literacy, and any data leader out there will tell you that data literacy is one of the main priorities. You need to make sure that data is not only owned by the data team, data is owned by the business. So you need to take the business with you on that learning curve and make sure that they are comfortable, including the management team. So at different companies like News UK or Warner Brothers, we were also helping the senior leadership team to understand what AI ready means, what data ready means, and be able to understand what they can do or should do from that leadership perspective. And yeah, also it's just demystifying data. That's maybe the last point here.
Mm.
Data maybe has different connotations, and you have to make it natural. They have to make it simpler for people, and then just maybe take them with you. So handling a lot, but at the end of the day, data is like an asset for the company. People manage teams, and then people in companies should also manage data. That's my perspective on things.
So, in terms of advice for anyone who is at a sort of a head or director level within their career, already working with a sort of data environment and looks at the role you do now as kind of chief data and I fully agree with your point on, they need to kind of increase their commercial skills. But any other advice that you would give them to really position themselves well on that journey?
Yeah, I mean, commercial is key, so I wouldn't say that again. I mean, that's very clear. Maybe the other important thing is like to try to make data important and become influential in the business. I think the more gravitas, the more influence you can have in the business, not for your, fueling your ego. It's just more about if you have a role that can really make a difference, where you can really hear from your peers at a C-suite level or -1. Be there in the conversation, be there to influence decisions. I think is super important. So having this board exposure as much as you can, I think is relevant because you will be seen in the company as someone influential. Any transformation or change that you're proposing will be perceived as something coming from the board, and will open you a lot of doors as well. So having that board exposure, I think, is really really key to make things happen.
If I may, I'd like to ask some AI questions now because everyone listening is going to be Susie. You've got to ask these questions. So, first of all, if you look at your role, so the Chief Data and AI Officer role, I know certainly in a lot of the US corporations, there's prevalence now of Chief Data and AI Officer roles. Are you seeing that happening I know you work for global businesses, but are you seeing that happening in the UK as well? Or are we going to see a rise in Chief AI Officer roles? Do you think it's going to be a combination of data and AI? I'm just keen to see what you may be observing within your peer group, as it were, within the UK.
Listen, I think data is a complex world, and even the definition of data sometimes is got different connotations. Many people feel data is technology. I think data enables decisions, and that's the important thing. So whatever changes the company, whatever brings commercial returns, is the decision made more than just the data itself. So you need people who can become decision makers, not just data builders. That's maybe the connotation that I want to bring up. Um, it's a challenge, and you may have heard this example of when electricity came, there was not a chief electricity officer. I think AI is meant to become so prevalent and so embedded within companies that at one point there will be no need to do any chief AI officer at all. For these very early days, I believe the role is more about setting up the foundations, the infrastructure, for sure. You need to make sure that whatever is feeding the AI, the data feeding AI is right, is proper, is well governed. So that requires the foundation setting. Definitely is going to be required. But as we were discussing earlier, is transformation, is a change. AI will become part of everyone's lives, also in the professional field. So you have to have someone who can really help with the decision makings, making sure that, as I said, you follow the compliance, the regulations, you are ethically using AI properly. But more than anything, it's just helping with that kind of a transformation. So that's why the skills are not just technology. It has to be more on this kind of a more business change and people and processes as much as technology.
And how are you seeing it evolve already within companies in terms of how they're embracing AI?
Well, that's another controversial point. I mean, how can you define AI? Many people use the terms Copilot or Claude or Gemini. Yes, definitely that's happening, and I think I'm using that as well. This is another tool. It will make us more efficient, but I don't think that's going to be breaking the bank. I think when we use the term AI is more, in my view, more transformational, more strategic, is more kind of trying to solve big business problems.
Mm-hmm.
Many people attempt to find the perfect solution that you can replace with AI, and that's very hard because the data may not be ready and that solution may not be as impactful. I'm quite pragmatic with that, and not using AI for the sake of using AI. Many people are trying to find problems to solve with AI more than just tackling the problems that they have using AI or not AI. So sometimes the target is change. And also many people try to do that kind of a clean replacement of something current with AI automation. And I think maybe the most powerful impact is if you break things down, big problems, and then you can apply AI to solve some of them. Maybe 20-30% of the big problem with using AI will have a much bigger impact than just finding a little pilot that kind of has a clean cut and clear view of the replacement. So I think pragmatism and as I said, the more transformational strategic change coming from the use of machine learning, traditional machine learning, or Gen AI to solve these biggest problems will have a bigger impact than just implementing Copilot licenses across the business.
Pedro, thank you. To finish off, is there a piece of advice that you have been given during your career that you think has served you well and may indeed serve others well that you'd be willing to share?
I mean, I've been given advice to be curious, to embrace complexity, to try to learn new things, especially in this world. Everything is to be discovered. Nobody has got the solution. So for any potential data leader out there, is just to be curious, try to embrace change, embrace new ideas, new technologies, and just keep discovering the world. Always keeping in mind that, of course, innovation is paramount and you have to keep the edge. But, bring your foot down to earth and then just make sure that, data will be impactful on the commercial side of things. Otherwise, you'll become an innovation team that may not have the gravitas and the influence in the business.
Fantastic. Pedro, thank you very much for giving up your time and answering those questions. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Susie. It was great.